Good morning. Today is Saturday. It is the 25th of September. And we were to be in Vermont today, but I made an executive decision due to some logistical things going on that we are in the local vigilance area, specifically the Tribog area. And we're going to do a sweep through here to see if there's anything going on. I don't think I've been in here this early last year, so we're kind of doing this one from scratch. I would like to give a shout out to all the people I know that are going to be at the Whitehall Festival this week and wish them a good time. To a certain Mr. Culls and company. Hopefully I'll get out with you guys next time. But this week it was not going to be in the stars. We're going to go in here, see what we can find. Again, first time I've been in here this early, so we'll just see what's there or not, and we'll go from there. Next week I'll probably be back in the what the hell was that? Sorry. Maybe I will find something. Who knows? So we're going to move in, and next week we'll be in Vermont again, most likely. And we'll take things from there. I'll go see what the hell that was. Yikes. Sounded like a bear. And I have seen a bear within the last 2 weeks too, so fun. But we'll get going, and we'll take things as they occur. Thanks. Okay, so we're heading in. This is, again, Tribog area. So we are in the border region of the Constitution and Bay State today. And it still looks like we're going to get our feet wet jumping over a stream here to get to the other side where I want to get to. So yeah, I guess the big thing going on in Bigfooting this week is the Whitehall Festival, and that's something I know I have on more than one occasion, like badmouth conferences and things. This is more a festival. It's like where people go, and then it's also the regional one where I would know the most people, and for that reason alone, if I was going to go to one, I'd probably go to that one. I obviously did not get there today. I have some logistical things going on in non-BF related life that have me doing things differently this week. So it's one of those things, again, where life happens, and we're in here doing this instead. But there's a lot of lovely mud in here. If there's anybody in the neighborhood, we might find something here. Again, I am not an active person in this, or haven't been in this stretch of the woods for this period of the year, but it is an interesting stretch of woods just for the gnarly trees and things that you'll see in here. That and these others. And we're just going to walk along the Tribogs, as I name the area, and to have a look-see if there's anything in here about what else is going on. Well, the reason I'm not running off into the woods and going on multiple day excursions and things is mainly just because I'm starting a new job, and Monday bright and early I have to show up and be ready to do day one job stuff. Probably a lot of paperwork, but that's part of what's going on. I also just felt the need to get some rest, because normally when I head up to Vermont, I'm up the crack of dawn. When you get up too early, too many days in a row, every now and then your body tells you, maybe slow down and get some rest. So that's what I did today. What else is going on? Otherwise, we'll just go in here and see what we find. As far as anything gossip-wise is going on, I don't really know of anything. I do kind of want to make a commentary, and this is and I mean like very peripherally interesting bird call, semi-Bigfoot related. There was a different off the Richter on the other day, and Richter's going into Dave Polites and the loss of his son and some mental health related things. Richter, I owe you an apology, because I couldn't watch all of it, mainly just because I found it triggering for some things that I've been through. Nothing to do with you or any of the it was one of those things where it resonated maybe a little too much, I guess. To Mr. Polites, bear with me. I like my condolences for the loss of your son. I don't even want to know what that. I'm looking at this. I don't really think it's anything, but it's a weird enough thing. It could be a heel. I don't know. Very easily could be people. If it was later in the season, I'd say it's probably a hunter, because you do get a fair amount of hunters in here that time of year, but it's early for that. Sorry, didn't mean to take away from the moment. To Mr. Polites, my condolences on the loss of your son. That's got to be horrible. Richter got talking about the law where he had suicide in his own family. My demons are different than that, and I'm not going to delve into them here because that's not the venue that I'm doing here. Maybe at some point I'll do that later, but I guess if I have a point to make here and you feel like you are having some mental health issues in your life, don't ignore it. That I can speak to, like specifically this year. I noticed a couple things going on with myself that I've since addressed that were going on that were based on my own research, definitely some warning signs that some things in my life, notably my second to last job, which without naming names and things was probably the single most toxic place I have worked in a long time. Were having some effects that should not be ignored. Don't ignore them. Because the warning signs, based on what not based on what I felt, but based on that plus what I researched myself, I'm like, yeah, that's a warning sign of something that's going to get worse before it gets better if you don't have it dealt with on some kind of a basis, have it looked at. By the same token, then I'll get off my behavioral health high horse, because that's not why I came in here. We are at bog number 1, though. Let me, if I pan down, maybe we get a better view of that. Beaver pond. It's like a definite beaver pond. There's a beaver nest here and at the other side. I'll fly the drone over this on the way out if the mood strikes me. It is a nice pond. The reason I call it the tri-bog is, like, if you go over that way, there's another bog, and if you trump through all this stuff over there, and it's further on foot than I thought last year, but I did get over there. There's another bog over there, and I'll edit that part out. But just to wrap up my medical health thought, if you are in a toxic job, do not underestimate the potential effect this can have on your daily out of work life. A lot of people try to let their job define who they are, and if your job is as sucky as mine was at the time, don't ignore that. That will bite you in the ass. It will. I'm glad I decided to do some things when I did, because if I hadn't, it probably would have gotten worse before better. And I'm glad I did not fulfill the suspicions some people in my past life have had about where I might have gone. I ended up in some things. So I'm going to leave that depressing note there, and that's probably more personal. I may even edit this part out, because I really don't want this on. There are too many toxic influences in the Bigfoot community that are ready to jump on shit like that and turn it. I'm going to stop that there. I don't want to get into a whole the Bigfoot community sucks riff again. Let's just enjoy the nice pond for a minute, and then we're going to head over to my right and start making my way around it and go into the other area where we had some. What are those? They blend in too well, but that's some kind of water bird that I don't recognize. Interesting. I'm kind of in a birding mindset right now too, because the one thing I'm going to miss from the job I had, it was on the shoreline in Connecticut, and where I was working, they have a colony of feral monk parrots. There are 2 colonies I'm aware of along the Connecticut shoreline of parrots that have survived the escape from, I think it was like a ship that was carrying circus supplies that ran aground years ago. And because these parrots come from a more temperate than tropical environment, they've somehow figured out how to survive New England winters, and they're here. And it's kind of cool having them around. They've kind of made buddies with pigeons and filled that niche in a suburban environment. And given the choice, I'd rather have the parrots and pigeons, but All right, that's enough banter. Let's move on. But yes, if you feel that you have anything like that going on, don't ignore it. Absolutely do not ignore it. Because that is not going to help you in the long run. And rant. And kudos to Richter for taking his show Normally Funny in a completely different direction and still having a good show. For all those people that chide Richter for all the stuff that he talks about, I don't doubt his sincerity. I mean, he does a lot of things that are parody, but he comes out and he'll tell you if you push. But, you know, again, from last week, the people who usually criticize him are the people who are most fearful of what he's trying to freaking cast light on. So good luck with that. You people know who you are. You're in it for the money. And that's why, you know, this one guy he has to be banned from all the conferences. Yeah, where you're selling all your t-shirts. No shit. Who do you think you're kidding, Matt? If I give you a hint of who I'm talking, he's not my favorite person in the community. And frankly, there may have been a time when this individual was useful to the community. I think it's become a lot more about being on TV with him, and he has since kind of just become pretty freaking useless. My own opinion. And again, if certain people out there are that offended by or threatened by my opinion, please feel free to cry me a river. I'm not going to go full bore, declare war on bullshit like Richter has, but if I don't kill myself going through this one little stretch here. But I will express my opinion as I see fit. And with that, I'll say this. There are those who feel they have authority in the community that they don't. And listen very carefully to what I say here, people. Until somebody pulls a body of one of these things out into the light, living or dead, no one, from some newbie that's going to start looking next week to Dr. Disatel, Dr. Sykes, or Dr. Meldrum, has any more authority in this subject than anyone else. If that offends you because you have a sense of hero worship or other fixation going on, oh well. Too bad. That is the one concrete truth in this subject, whether you people want to hear it, get sick of hearing it or not. End of story. Till somebody shows me a body, from Meldrum on down, he may have more scientific cred than I do, and I freely admit that he does. But you have not shown me the monkey. Until you do, you're no further along in this than I am. And your efforts are no more valid or invalid than mine. Or anyone else. So, let me walk through these lovely prickers and not get all chewed up. I apologize to that poor spider and his buddy for wrecking their house. Sorry, guys. That probably happens 2 or 3 times a day, though. If you have a moose coming through here, and you probably do. That is one heartfelt opinion, or hard-felt opinion that I have. And the people, if there are any that disagree with it, they're usually the ones that want to believe. And by that I mean, and they hang way too much on every single blurry ass shit photo or Photoshop failure that comes out on a week, and they do come out on a weekly basis. Hello, indented moose track. Speak of the devil. And for those of you that want to contest that, yes, look it up. We do actually have a moose population along the Connecticut-Mass border, believe it or not. As well as bears and the odd mountain lion, even though the people that think they know it all will tell you we don't have an eastern mountain lion population. Mountain lions from other regions do find their way in here, and whether you like it or not, in April of this last year, I've seen one. Confirming what hunters have been telling me in that area for years. I had always been skeptical, and then you have to go and see one, and then you know better. And for any asshole that's going to tell me it was a bobcat, blah, blah, blah. Bobcats don't have long tails with tan on the top and white on the bottom and a black dot on the end. That is a mountain lion, like it or not. And that is what I saw, and I saw it probably within a mile of where I presently am, which is in the Constitution state, and that's where it was. And if you want to go back to 2007, look it up. In the town of, I believe, Darien, you had to go and get one. It found its way here from South Dakota, that got hit by a car and had to just lie dead on the side of the road for the world to see. So yeah, unfortunately, we do get them here. As much as some whiny little asshole on some forum somewhere wants to say otherwise. That person can kiss my ass. I apologize if I come off as a little hostile and angry this morning, but I do get bored with these know-it-all scoffdicks. I mean, there's a difference between somebody who's skeptical and somebody who's a scoffdick. A skeptic is a person who considers all the possibilities. A scoffdick is somebody who scoffs. End of story. And they know it all. They decide it's one thing. They don't make any effort to confirm it. They just declare that's what it is, and they move on to the next thing they scoff at. They're as brain dead as a lot of the wannabe believers. And in some ways just as cultish. And a lot more annoying because they're that much more fucking arrogant. Pardon my French. But then again, that's why I mark my videos as not for kids. You can have enough fun with the algorithm police without having to do that. So do I want to jump over here, make my way down there? Let's at least take a look and see what shape it's in. Because if there is anything in that stretch of woods over there, I can probably hear it from over here. So far, it's pretty quiet in here. Not surprising. And that one odd heel print I may have found, I'm going to liken to human, because we're not so far from human population. You couldn't have had a local, not so much letterboxer type, but like that you do in this area have like foragers and people that like to gather mushrooms and things like that. And every now and then you'll have a weird deep woods encounter with people doing that. So it's other people get out here for things. And that's cool that they know how to do that. So that's my only point there being you'll run into people this far in only because they're doing things like that, and they probably know where there's a certain patch of things. Not this forest, but on the other end of the state, I know more or less where there is a patch of wild grapes growing. And if you ever wanted to go out for a hike and you like green grapes growing natural in the woods, and we can beat the local ungulates to them, I could show you that. That might be pretty cool. By the same token, we're not so far south from Vermont that you don't have naturally occurring like blueberries and blackberries and stuff. God forbid I found a wild blackberry here. That is my favorite berry. They are scrumdiddlyicious. No one's going to tell me different. Even though they're weird and have those little bulbous like brown things on them, they're still pretty good. Guess I'm just rambling today. Yeah, this is as wide as I thought it was going to be. I'm going to have to work my way to the right and see if there's a better jumpable area. Which also helps me to get through away from all that lovely undergrowth, but let's go with plan B. The beavers have been busy. So, yeah, sorry if and there might be some out there that are like thinking right now, what makes you any different than the scoffdicks when you're saying what you're saying? Like, well, here's the thing. I am open to the possibility of the existence of these creatures, mainly because I've had to go and freaking see one or two. And I have. And secondly, most of the people that I've encountered that honestly wanted to talk about seeing something aren't crackpots like swearing up and down. I seen it. It's more like they don't know what they saw. They want to talk it out and then maybe they're open to the possibility, but they're not sure what they saw. They're looking for some form of closure on something that's obviously bugging them a little bit. So witness interviews do have I guess a certain pseudo-psychological, you're sitting down to talk through something with them. They'll show you what they have, and I mean, I've been on enough field investigations where people show me their evidence where it's some of them have been more interesting than others, but I'm not going to denigrate somebody online, because if they sincerely approach me wanting closure on something, I'm not going to badmouth them for that. So I need to go around all this lovely stuff, all the laurel and whatever other brambles that is, and see, because the problem is we had a lot of rain this last week, so that has expanded the stream. And I don't really feel like getting wet up to my waist or up to my thighs if I don't need to. I have in the past, but if I don't need to. It's for the purpose of this area, that's probably overkill. So yeah, the difference between skeptics that just dismiss and somebody who considers all the possibilities, there are obviously lines of delineation of proportional likelihood. A lot of big words there, but you'll have people that could, sorry, orb weaver, that could have a freaking dead one put on a slab in front of them. They're still going to deny it. And then you have people that want to post. I'm not even going to throw out a name, because on Facebook alone, there's just too many jackasses out there posting blur squatches every day, wasting our time. And then you have the other idiots like Todd Standing, who are out there with their CGI companies making Muppet faces of themselves. I found a moose trail. Maybe a people trail. I have to remember where this is. But I guess this is going to be me rambling in the woods today, so sorry. Some of these are not always going to be under the control of the... So next week, let's cover next week then. If it's going to be quiet here today, although I do like the scenery. I mean, it's pretty in here. Give me my dough here. It is pretty in here. Next week, we will be returning to New Manitou. I'm going to find that goddamn pond and wrap that up before it gets too cold and you can't get in there anymore, because it's already hard enough to get in there without the help of weather, snow, and all that. I would personally expect that if they were in that area, the three that I sometimes cryptically refer to, they're not 8-foot giants. That's the thing that needs to be kind of pointed out. They're not 8 feet tall. So when you get into the middle of winter in Vermont snowpack, and the snowpack is like 3-4 feet deep, and it does get that deep, the question becomes, how the hell do they move around? They're either, I mean, the two obvious answers are, one, either they're hibernating, or two, they leave the area and go somewhere easier. And for the sake of realism of the size of the ones that I'm talking about, it's got to be one or the other. If they hibernate, you're probably not going to find them anyway, because getting into that area in winter without a snowmobile, and even then, if you have a snow machine and the thing conks out and you're in 3 feet snow and you get stuck and you're that far in, you are probably in some physical danger. And you might be wanting to whip out your Les Stroud book on how to survive, because you might be in that situation at that point. Yeah, there's definitely a game trail through here. Kind of goes that way. You have one here, it intersects and goes here. Of course, in November, you'd never see this because all the ferns will be like down or whatever. Right now, You can kind of see that. So you have a little bit of a template of something you can follow in here. Good to know. Again, this is the terrain. It's fairly open in here, so you can see out probably 100 feet, should you be sharing space with anything. But you also have enough brush if you actually did have one in here and it hunkered down, and which I do believe they do. Just to make the point, you look off in the distance over here. Let's say you had 10 hunkered down looking right at you. You probably wouldn't know they were there unless they were like giving off a smell or something. If they could keep themselves perfectly still, because I've had a situation where one and I were in proximity. This is the 5 Bog sighting of a few years back. The thing, I assume, lost its nerve because it jumped up and ran. What reason for, I don't know, because the nature of the eye poker stuff I was walking through at the time, I don't see why I couldn't have just like walked right by it if it had held its nerve and not wanted to be seen. It probably, if it had held its cool, I probably would have not even known it was there. But I think there was more going on, because that's also the one time I've had a potential experience with infrasound. And kind of like it was doing everything it could to passively make me move along. And when I kind of had because my goal was to get over to where I think they didn't want me to go. And so they then became a little bit more, not aggressive, but territorial. I never felt, I guess I am going to tell a little bit of this. I never felt actually like physically in danger, like I'm going to go 411 and just disappear, but I definitely did receive treatment, because there was a pair of them actually. At the time, they're a mated pair. That's my opinion. Definitely a pair that travel together and have for now, let's say conservatively 4 years. And I was followed until I left the area. Unfortunately, I had to walk back through the area to get to my car, and I was greeted a second time, shall we say. And when I say greeted, I don't mean in friendly terms. I don't know if I'd call it a full bluff charge, but it was an attempt to run me off, which for the most part did work. Okay, so here's the stream. We can get into this, then we can move over there. Let's see how jumpable this is. And since the camera is still rolling, as far as I can tell, and we have no reason not to have one big fat file for the video, we'll just do that. A little wider than normal, but not astronomically horrible. I'm liking that big rock over here, because I can just step on that and step across and get to the other side. That will work nicely. Not undoable, just stepping down. You got to be careful, because after rain these rocks can be slick. I don't think this one looks that way, and isn't, but if you slip, you're gonna get your feet wet, etc. So let's get up in this stuff and see what we got. If we can work our way, I want to go kind of that way, at least for a little bit, because that's where I had some movement last November. I think I was followed by something. But the undergrowth stuff in here gets pretty thick too, so I don't know how. Yeah, I just found some of these little fire ring. I cannot emphasize by bushwhacking how many little things like this. Let's take a look real quick just to make the point. Doesn't look like somebody's been here recently, but you'd be amazed how many of these little well-hidden fire rings you'll find in here. I know of at least in this area. I've lost count, honestly. Good to know that's there, though. There's another one over by the pond we were at previous. I probably prefer that as an overnight camping spot, only because I like being on the water, and that being a nice little pond, you get more, like more bird activity, things like that. Just something I like in the. So can I get through this with? Yeah, I guess we can without too much grief. It gets pretty thick though, so is it worth it? You're not hearing that. So let's see. I'm not going to keep going this way if I'm not. If I'm just going on the other side of the stream, we've basically been through this. That doesn't really gain me anything. Let's see if I can go up the hill per se. We're going to turn back and go this way. Start working our way up the hill a little bit. In parallel, the second as opposed to the, I'm sorry, the third as opposed to the second bog. Or did I decide that that was a tributary of the first bog? I think that's what I had called it. So we're going to avoid the tributary for now and kind of make our way this way into this stuff. If only because it's easier to navigate right now and we're not really... I'm following a very loose template of what I want to accomplish in here today. I haven't been in this area, one, this time of year, and two, recently, so I'm just going to make a little bit of noise and see if I stir anything up. Walking through here. But with this being open like this and being far enough in, I could see where a bunch of deer hunters wouldn't mind setting up in here and trying to call something in. I could see that. So kind of covered an odd sorting of topics today. Yeah, we're going to come up on the edge of bog number 2 of Tri-Bog. I do like knowing how things connect not by like roads and things, but like walking all the way through, because that's when you get to know. That's how you kind of quote unquote get to know the land. And if I go far enough up this way and don't cut that way, sorry, it is going to get all undergrowth again. It gets thick in here once again. But if you stay in the open area, it also kind of gives you a template of working your way back too. Little navigational secret. That in this particular stretch of the woods, there's some hunter tape right there too. In this particular state in Massachusetts, probably too, the old, I've said this before, the old New Englandy stone fences are like a navigational system of sorts too that you can use, because they usually go like a half to 3/4 of a mile in some cases and intersect with another one. And if you can memorize the order you take those, that can get you way the hell in the middle of nowhere some places too. You just have to remember the order of getting them back, or leave like a marker on the fence, and that's like one bushwhacking cheat you can use to get into some of these areas. Not all the time, but so a couple of toys I got lately for camping, and well, general prepper camping slash, kind of stuff. I found a contraption. It is anyone who has a Biolite stove. This is the same principle. You have a backpacking stove and you put this thing on the top of it, and basically the difference between a Biolite, which burns twigs and stuff, and this one you boil water, but you boil the water gets hot, the heat from the water being boiled basically then powers the USB connector, and that charges whatever you have plugged into it. In my case, either my cell phone, my drone. And because the USB is like USB on one end and doesn't really matter if it's A, B, or C type, I mean, my phone is C, my drone is B. It doesn't matter really or is it micro USB? Either way, different connector types on the other end don't matter. It'll basically power any of those. The efficiency has not been tested yet, but the theory is exactly that of a Biolite. And the other thing, the other thing was a solar-powered kettle for making coffee or tea. So I already have a solar cooker, so it's kind of the second one I got on that. And then, so noted, a what is it? It's a UV radiation disinfecting wand thing. So if you don't have hand sanitizer or something like this works the same way. So I'm going to take a segment break right now and kind of wander into the second bog a little bit and maybe get some photography done. Okay, it seems the mosquitoes have started to find me. It's probably inevitable. So here's a thing. Here's another tip. Not so much survival, but comfort in the woods tip for those that are kind of adverse to this. If you're going to be out camping and you eat like mountain house style or other backpacking food, bring TP in your pack. You're going to want to do that because you very likely, if you go on a lengthy hike, at some point will have to do number 2. And you don't get to pick your spot, so be prepared. That's all I'm going to say. And no comment on what I just did. Anyway. Take a look and see. Last time I tried to get into this area, it's like very overgrown, so it's not the easiest ingress. As you can see, it's all undergrowth and streams, so unless there's like a side trail here I'm not aware of. Now we're already running into, I take that back, we're already in the water. We walked right up on the water. So no, there isn't. You're walking through the stream to get in from this angle, so. Fail number 1, fall back, and we'll try to work our way up along the way and see if there's a way in there to get a look while trying to stay on the move to avoid mosquito contact as much as we can. Which way did I go? There's a couple of cracks in this wall of undergrowth, and this is sort of one of them. Yes, keyword sort of. Hashtag sort of. Is that really any better? Let's take a look. What can we get from over there? Let's try that angle. Oh, I just got nailed by rattles. Okay, never mind. That's not really any better. Nope. The trouble with the second bog is it's surrounded by undergrowth pretty much all the way through. So let me see how far along here I can work my way and see if there's a hole in it. We'll try to get a view of it and see what. Otherwise, I guess we could do it by way of the drone and cheat a little bit once we backtrack a ways. Let's kind of sort of see though if we can. I don't remember finding a hole in this though. Not to set you up for disappointment, but take one last stab at it over here. It looks like you might have some. And then we'll see what else comes to mind. Yeah, it's not really a hole either. It's just it's an entrance into the undergrowth more. So let's see how far this might or might not be accessible. That and trees and undergrowth. Go over that. Let's see. Hey. A whirl, a couple of trees, and if you get by the trees, more undergrowth. Hey, look at that. All right, I admit defeat. So you can get through to those trees and then you end up in front of another wall of undergrowth that you have to figure out what to do with. So we're going to get back into the open ground here and then speculate on our next move. So, okay, so we're back on the other side and we are going to make our way back to the other pond. There's not really any good way in.
Segment break real quick.
To that bog, and it basically is like, it's going to be one of those things like the Vermont ones where you walk up on the water and it's basically overgrown undergrowth and water. So you're going to get hung up in there. So it's kind of just not, we'll do the aerial overview if we can get that close with the drone. I don't know how, I forget how well the signal runs in here, truth be told. So we'll have to figure that out at the time. I don't recall it being too bad, but we did have some interesting drone anomalies last week where basically it wanted to land on the fog. And if I didn't explain what that means last time, basically it means that it wants to basically define the fog as solid ground when it's not, and then cut its engines to 200 feet in the air and then drop like a stone, which is a bad thing. So don't do like Donnie Don't does, or me, and have a better idea of where the low-hanging mountain fog is, because it was a lot lower than I thought it was. Normally you can get up like 100 feet, 200 feet, and this time around it was barely 150 feet in the air, so that's some pretty low-hanging fog from what I'm used to anyway. So yeah, if it had its way, it would have basically cut the engines very low, and my drone would have been worse for wear, dropping, hopefully not on my car, but it would have dropped into my campsite. I didn't have it too far out, but that could have been an interestingly bad thing. Was I following the trail? And then, ow, you bastard. Stepping over this thing, looks like I was. So that was an interesting experience to have. It's the second time that's happened too. So when you are in mountainous terrain and you have fog in a drone, don't get crazy with your plans. Just get it. Bear with me, my phone won't shut up. Eversource is calling. What the hell did they want? Did they call me or did I call them? I may have called them. I actually called them with a stupid butt dial. God bless Samsung phones that make it amazingly easy to do such stupid things. Moving on. But no one picked up I had the phone robots and no harm done. Moving on. On my mind though, because apparently my better half is undergoing a power outage where she lives right now. But which hopefully for her sake of her Saturday will be resolved soon. Interesting tree formation, right? No, go up. Go up. Thank you. Right there. But now we're coming back on the other pond. All in all, quiet in here today. No real signs of major wildlife. Other than mosquitoes and those two weird birds I don't recognize, but that is what it is. We'll come back over here and here's where it gets a little bit less obvious, where you cut through to get back to the front of the pond, because I usually angle out from there. But may have picked up on another leg of a game trail here. Yeah, sort of, maybe. But you know, I'm like directly parallel with where I want to be now, so it's all good. Okay, it seems the mosquitoes have started to find me. It's probably inevitable. So here's a thing. Here's another tip. Not so much survival, but comfort in the woods tip for those that are kind of adverse to this. If you're going to be out camping and you eat like Mountain House style or other backpacking food, bring TP in your pack. You're going to want to do that because you very likely, if you go on a lengthy hike, at some point will have to do number 2. And you don't get to pick your spot, so be prepared. That's all I'm going to say. And no comment on what I just did. Anyway. Take a look and see. Last time I tried to get into this area, it's like very overgrown, so it's not the easiest ingress. As you can see, it's all undergrowth and streams, so unless there's like a side trail here I'm not aware of. Now we're already running into, I take that back, we're already in the water. We walked right up on the water. So no, there isn't. You're walking through the stream to get in from this angle, so. Fail number 1, fall back, and we'll try to work our way up along the way and see if there's a way in there to get a look, while trying to stay on the move to avoid mosquito contact as much as we can. Which way did I go? There's a couple of cracks in this wall of undergrowth, and this is sort of one of them. Yes, keyword sort of. Hashtag sort of. Is that really any better? Let's take a look. What can we get from over there? Let's try that angle. Oh, I just got nailed by rattles. Okay, never mind. That's not really any better. Nope. The trouble with the second bog is it's surrounded by undergrowth pretty much all the way through. So let me see how far along here I can work my way and see if there's a hole in it. We'll try to get a view of it and see what. Otherwise, I guess we could do it by way of the drone and cheat a little bit once we backtrack a ways. Let's kind of sort of see though if we can. I don't remember finding a hole in this though. Not to set you up for disappointment, but take one last stab at it over here. It looks like you might have some. And then we'll see what else comes to mind. Yeah, it's not really a hole either. It's just it's an entrance into the undergrowth more. So let's see how far this might or might not be accessible. That and trees and undergrowth. Go over that. Let's see. Hey. Whirl, a couple of trees, and if you get by the trees, more undergrowth. Hey, look at that. All right, I admit defeat. So you can get through to those trees and then you end up in front of another wall of undergrowth that you have to figure out what to do with. So we're going to get back into the open ground here and then speculate on our next move. So, okay, so we're back on the other side and we are going to make our way back to the other pond. There's not really any good way in. Segment break real quick. To that bog, and it basically is like, it's going to be one of those things like the Vermont ones where you walk up on the water and it's basically overgrown undergrowth and water. So you're going to get hung up in there. So it's kind of just not. We'll do the aerial overview if we can get that close with the drone. I don't know how, I forget how well the signal runs in here, truth be told, so we'll have to figure that out at the time. I don't recall it being too bad, but we did have some interesting drone anomalies last week where basically it wanted to land on the fog. And if I didn't explain what that means last time, basically it means that it wants to basically define the fog as solid ground when it's not, and then cut its engines to 200 feet in the air and then drop like a stone, which is a bad thing. So, don't do like Donnie Don't does, or me, and have a better idea of where the low-hanging mountain fog is, because it was a lot lower than I thought it was. Normally you can get up like 100 feet, 200 feet, and this time around it was barely 150 feet in the air, so that's some pretty low-hanging fog from what I'm used to anyway. So yeah, if it had its way, it would have basically cut the engines very low, and my drone would have been worse for wear, dropping, hopefully not on my car, but it would have dropped into my campsite. I didn't have it too far out, but That could have been an interestingly bad thing. Was I following the trail? And then, ow, you bastard. Stepping over this thing, looks like I was. So, that was an interesting experience to have. It's the second time that's happened too. So when you are in mountainous terrain and you have fog and a drone, don't get crazy with your plans. Just get a, bear with me, my phone won't shut up. Eversource is calling. What the hell did they want? Did they call me or did I call them? I may have called them. I actually called them with a stupid butt dial. God bless Samsung phones that make it amazingly easy to do such stupid things. Moving on. But no one picked up. I had the phone robots and no harm done. Moving on. On my mind though, because apparently my better half is undergoing a power outage where she lives right now. But which hopefully for her sake of her Saturday will be resolved soon. Interesting tree formation, right? No, go up. Go up. Thank you. Right there. But now we're coming back on the other pond. All in all, quiet in here today. No real signs of major wildlife. Other than mosquitoes and those two weird birds I don't recognize, but that is what it is. We'll come back over here and here's where it gets a little bit less obvious, where you cut through to get back to the front of the pond, because I usually angle out from there. But may have picked up on another leg of a game trail here. Yeah, sort of, maybe. But I'm like directly parallel with where I want to be now, so it's all good. I'll say no thank you to the bug protein just offered me. Again, the nature of the undergrowth changes again. Less ferns and more this. So I guess I'm just trying to listen in of, for the moment, run out of things to say. So, high or low? I guess we'll go low, since we went high. Maybe nothing, maybe not. But I'm going to take a picture of that. I did not, no, I went high when I came through. So if this is a people track, this is not mine. But I'm going to take a picture of it real quick. So I'll be back in a second. Can you stop trying to call people without asking? And we're back. That was a track. It could be a people track. There's not really definition for toes or lack thereof. The one I found last week sort of kind of looked like it had toes. Sort of kind of. This one did not. So I'm going to leave it as yes track, but definition no. We'll leave that one to the philosophers and people on Facebook that want to throw their two-bit opinion at it and go from there. Where did I come through here? I think I just came through this thing. I could be wrong, but I'm going through it now. And lots of nice mud here. Anything of definition? No. Nothing obvious anyway. Let's not go under that. So, bear with me. Mouthful of spider web. And we're going to end up over here by the side of this lovely pond again, right quick. And I think next time I come out here I will bring lunch. This is not a bad, once it's a little cooler and the mosquitoes kind of get over themselves a little bit though. Because right now today's a nice day for that kind of thing, minus exactly that, the mosquitoes. May not be ants at a picnic, but mosquitoes probably aren't much better. More beaver activity right there. So it is definitely a beaver pond. Not that you didn't believe me in the first place, but walk out to this section right here. It's like kind of nice and open. You can set up a nice picnic lunch here. I don't know what the fishing would be like in here, but I have given that thought too, because you're kind of far enough back that I mean, there's a fire. Some people know about, locals would know about this spot, but a lot of others might not. So I'm going to take some pictures here. I think this is where we're going to wrap up. And a little bit of a different pace today. Like I said, I had set out to be out in Vermont. Didn't work out that way. I felt like the body needed some rest, and I kind of have a thing in my head about starting a new job, and if anything comes up last minute, you need to attend to that with as far as paperwork or anything else. I need to have that in mind too. So we stayed local. This is a nice area though. I do like the video out here. One day we might actually, God forbid, have a monkey man come through here. But in the meantime, we're going to thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you feel the need or if you feel the desire to do so. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.